What's up, everyone? Scotty White, World Combat Sports. You know what it is. YouTube. That's what it is. World Combat Sports is here with a little brief boxing talk, to spread the word, boost the subscribers, of course. You know what I'm saying? Thank you all for your support. And the whole intent is to be a bit more heavy over here on YouTube and talk this combat sports. If you don't know, I cover boxing and MMA. I'm a writer, journalist, reporter, whatever you want to call it, the trifecta, dynamic, the formula, everything you can imagine. You know what I'm saying? I've pretty much been covering the sport for quite some time now. So I'm going to try my best to start relegating my time over here on YouTube more often and also build my subscribers. So getting straight to the point, let's talk about some boxing that's on the top, that's anchored on the media waves right now. Let's talk about post-fight Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia. As you probably, seen just a little bit further back, how Sean Porter defeated Danny Garcia, right? And Errol Spence came in there and basically called out Sean Porter. At that time, Sean Porter implied that this would be the easiest fight to make, right? It wasn't the case because when the crowd dispersed and the cameras went away, we didn't hear anything else from Sean Porter about Errol Spence Jr. The truth, So we wanted to see the fight and see if it can be made. Nothing. Crickets. So as time went by, we found out that Errol Spence would be facing Mikey Garcia. We all know how that went. It was a 12-round domination. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He basically blitzed Mikey Garcia and put on a boxing clinic for 12 rounds. I don't care what anyone wants to say about, well, he didn't absolutely dominate him because he didn't knock the guy out. That's not the extent of boxing, you all. You know what I'm saying? It's knockouts when they present themselves, and then there's boxing and the sweet science, however you want to perceive it. But Errol Spence showed a different layer to his boxing skill set, which worked out sensation when it went in there at Mikey Garcia. All the high intelligent banter and all this, acting like Errol Spence, his only offensive game plan was to go straight forward and just throw punches and combinations and try to break his opponent down without no real plan B or C. Well, he proved that wrong against Mikey Garcia. And a 12-round performance that's respectable. And basically, it upped his Wall Street. Real talk. It absolutely increased Errol Spence's Wall Street. Now, following that fight, Sean Porter being in attendance, Keith Thurman, whoever else that was there to assess the situation, Manny Pacquiao. Post-fight, Errol Spence called over Manny Pacquiao. Now, this couldn't have been pre-planned because Manny Pacquiao seemed unsure of himself. Seemed like he was stuck in a predicament for which he just said what he said to appease the audience. And that was, oh, yeah, if he wants to fight, okay. But then off camera, you're saying that Errol Spence doesn't hit that hard and you have no problem. Then we look on social media, you submit a poll out there and say, who do you want me to fight next? Floyd Mayweather, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, and all this other hoopla. So you had no intentions of fighting Errol Spence. You just appeased the fans and the audience to move on and do what you want to do. We're not going to pay for you and Floyd Mayweather there, Manny Pacquiao. I understand you're a legend. I understand you're a future Hall of Famer. I receive it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just letting you know right now, right here, boxing changes so much. You have to basically give us something that appeases us now. Because we've seen you and Floyd Mayweather before. And for us to sit down and take that blunt force trauma to the head again with a double claw hammer, knowing that the fight may be one-sided, even though both of you all are over your 40s, you know what I'm saying? We're not going to sit up here and pay for two elder fighters, even though one is, TBE, and he defeated you already. And then, 8th division champion as yourself. Looked pretty impressive against Adrian Broner. You did what you had to do to win the fight. But guess what? I'm getting word that Manny Pacquiao may be in the shoot to face Keith Thurman. Stylistically, for Manny Pacquiao, I still believe he loses right now at this stage in his career if he faces Keith Thurman. Regardless of how Keith Thurman looked against Lopez. I'm saying him getting the ring rust out, getting back into training in the gym, and coming back for a second fight off his long hiatus, I still believe he will outperform Manny Pacquiao. One thing Keith Thurman can do is box. You know what I'm saying? Manny Pacquiao can box too, but age is against him, people. We cannot overlook that. We cannot sit up here and dilute the reality that Manny Pacquiao is going to continue to find the fountain of youth as if he did with Matisse. Lucas Matisse was on his way out the door, both feet dangling. So you can't say Manny Pacquiao looked overly, you know what I'm saying, competitive, and he looked rejuvenated, and he reinventing his freaking skill set in boxing and his presence as a fighter. No, he just was in there with a fighter that he looked extremely good that night. But I guarantee you, when he stepped in there with Keith Thurman, if that fight is made, Keith Thurman will win and take that WBA regular title. Is it going to do something? Is the title going to do anything for Keith Thurman? Not so much than the fact that if he was facing Errol Spence, Bud Crawford, or Shawn Porter. It's good to have Manny Pacquiao on your record, but he's an older Manny Pacquiao. Good guy, but he's an older Manny Pacquiao. He's not so-called the prime Pacquiao that we used to seeing going in there, and we say, hey, you know, he did what he did against Cotto. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Manny Pacquiao that's been in there and won 8 divisions. The champion at the highest pinnacle in a class of his own. We get it. But right now, if the rumor mill is right and he's stepping there with Keith Thurman, we'll see in upcoming months if it's all true. And I do have Keith Thurman edging Manny Pacquiao, no doubt about it. I just don't see an upset in that matchup. There's no way that anyone can convince me of such, that Manny Pacquiao momentum is going to bleed over to a bout with Keith Thurman and he's going to be victorious. No way, no how. Anyway, pushing past that, okay? I'm curious to see, like I mentioned before, if Errol Spence is going to be able to face Bud Crawford maybe early 2020. The reason why I say early 2020 is if Errol Spence just so happened to face Shawn Porter, once again, this is just a little surface residue that's boiling right now. They're trying to make it a big deal, a little surface residue that's being talked about. Because guess what? Terrence Crawford fights April 20th. And like I said before, both of these fighters need about an 10-week, 12-week training camp. So in between that, if Errol Spence decided to face Shawn Porter for the WBC, that'd be great. Because whoever wins that bout, y'all, they'll be the unified champion. They will have the momentum going into the Crawford fight. Whoever it may be, if it's Errol Spence or Shawn Porter. We're talking about the momentum as far as having 2 titles, face a big name such as Terrence Bud Crawford, and then last but not least, you have Keith Thurman for the WBA Super. We're that much closer for one face, one name, undisputed champion in the welterweight division. How good is that? How grand? You know what I'm saying? That's a beautiful picture, isn't it? You know, the cruiserweight division, you know, Usyk, he unified the cruiserweight, but no one really said anything about it. He's like, okay, you know, but the welterweight division is a much more radiant division, you know, for people to pay attention to. So let's see how this plays out. And then, of course, you have the junior middleweight division. It's a lot of potential there. Jaime Munguia is trying to spark up some flames and build some fires in that division. But the man right now is Jarrett Swift Hurd. He's going in there against J-Rock. And I still have Jarrett Hurd winning that bout. I'm just saying he's tougher. His pressure and being a big fighter. We all know what happened to J-Rock in the past. Not depleting or degrading his skill set or his, star power as a top contender. I'm just saying in general, in there with Jarrett Swift Hurd, I'm curious to know how J-Rock is going to handle that pressure. Does he have enough power? Does he have enough of his offensive fight plan to basically offset Jared Swift Hurd to pack away some rounds? I don't see him knocking out Jared Hurd. None of that. I think it's going to come down to him coming up with a very solid game plan in order to pack away some rounds to make the fight close or edge Jared. And right now, I just don't see that. And you know, my assessment isn't too far off from other people who's looking at that same fight. The name is reputable, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes down to assessing the performance on that night, of course, I'd give the edge to Jared Swift Hurd. Absolutely. Definitively. He gets the nod. Now, there are other competitors, of course. You know, you have Jermell Charlo going in there with a rematch against Tony Harrison. We've seen what happened. Tony Harrison had the better plan B. You know, whenever he chose to come forward, he did. If he wanted to box off the back foot against Jermell Charlo, who was just really trying to knock his head off every time he threw a punch. He just didn't seem like he had options or alternative fight plans that he chose to use at the time. Now, that doesn't say that Jermell Charlo cannot box. He can. But at that night, this is the sweet science. I will tell you, Tony Harrison had the better plan, had the better mindset. The way he adapted in there and made changes, man, was beautiful. He shined that night. He shined, y'all. He boxed. You know what I'm saying? He was making Jermell Charlo miss. He was doing everything he needed to do to come out there with that championship belt, and he did it. It hit home for Jermell Charlo. It probably made him go back to the gym and work that much harder. That doesn't say Jermell Charlo is a slouch. No way, no how. Jermell Charlo is a tough fighter. But that night, Tony Harrison had the better mindset to switch up the game plan, make those changes, acclimate differently. As the fight went along, he was able to be and new and pick up that championship. So it's a lot that's going on in the junior middleweight. And up the middleweight, you know, you have Canelo Alvarez and Daniel Jacobs is popping off. I still give the edge to Canelo Alvarez. Daniel Jacobs has been in there with some top competitors. No doubt about it. He took a little bit more punishment than I thought he should against Sergey Derevyanchenko. He's been in there with Triple G, which some people say Triple G won. Some say Daniel Jacobs won. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be any of that confusion when he steps in there with Saul Canelo Alvarez. It will be a very competitive bout, y'all. Real talk. Canelo Alvarez right now is on fire. Daniel Jacobs is a top contender, absolutely, for sure. Does he have enough in his skill set to mix it up with his boxing and his power to earn a decision against Canelo Alvarez? Daniel Jacobs haven't really knocked out anyone, like I'm talking about just really knock him out in devastating fashion consistently. Who's to say, you know, it's anything on his resume that he's going to go over here and be able to drop Canelo Alvarez if he wasn't able to drop Triple G? Canelo wasn't able to drop Triple G. So it's not going to be a knockout fiasco. It's going to be a thinking man's game in there. It's going to be one of those back and forth exchanges where they're going to have to basically score effective quantity of punches on the other so that the judges won't have no freaking, you know, confusion when it comes time to tallying up those cards. Because you think for 1 minute Daniel Jacobs is going to have an easy time winning the decision against Canelo, it ain't happening. It's not happening. He better have such a far enough lead and an outstanding performance that even the viewing audience, the judges, and everybody else say Daniel Jacobs won this fight. But if it's any type of so-called doubt or speculation that Daniel Jacobs didn't do enough to defeat Canelo Alvarez completely, then expect him to lose. Expect him to take that L, because it's going to happen. There's no way they're going to go against Canelo Alvarez right now. With the momentum on his side, he's the cash cow, y'all. Real talk, he's the cash cow. So definitely look forward to that bout. April 20th, you have Terrence Crawford and Amir Khan. Um, Style for style, both of these guys has fast hands. A lot of people are saying in certain areas that Amir Khan has faster hands. Looking at what Amir Khan used to do, okay, you can use that narrative. But we all know the detriment to Amir Khan's boxing suit, and that's his fragmented chin. That's his lack of durability and resilience when hit flush. I'm talking about early in the fight. Amir Khan has gotten up. He has risen to the occasion and finished the fight from being knocked down. But Bud Crawford is a very athletic. He has a very respectable gas tank, and don't expect anything less than him when he gets Amir Khan hurt. He's going to close in with the ferociousness as he did David Benavidez and Dongo. Anybody, you know what I'm saying, that gets in trouble with Terrence Crawford, he's going to close in because he's not worrying about his gas tank, man. That's not a concern that's going in there. Plus, he's a switch hitter. He has versatility to his boxing game, his boxing prowess. So we're going to see that. I want to know what kind of changes Amir Khan is going to make if he does get hurt. And I want to see if he has the capability to hurt Terrence Crawford and disrupt the comfort zone that Terrence Crawford may have going into this bout, knowing that Amir Khan's chin will be tested. Hell yeah. He's going to test Amir Khan's chin early. And we, the viewing fans, we're going to look at it like, okay, we want to see, can he withstand Terrence Crawford power? Because look at it this way. A lot of people thought Errol Spencer's going to go in there and knock out Mikey Garcia. All we was hearing is knockout, knockout, knockout. But the knockout didn't happen, y'all. It just didn't happen. The beard on Mikey Garcia proved that he can take a punch from a fighter who's one of the most, feared. They call him the boogeyman. So therefore, when you take it in that perspective, he didn't get the knockout. But yet, this is boxing and sweet science. He showed you a different wrinkle to his skill set. He was able to go in there and box the ears off Mikey Garcia. So we're going to see how that works out with Terrence Crawford and Amir Khan. But MSG, the undercard, Teofimo Lopez is going to be the co-main. Very exciting fighter, man. Honduran pugilist going in there to continue to keep the fire burning on the momentum that he has. Possibly whoever he chooses to fight in the future, I'm not sure who it's going to be. I know his dad had mentioned that Lomachenko will be the easiest fight for Teofimo Lopez. Whether we're going to see that fight or not, who knows? I can't make that prediction. Because Lomachenko's the cash cow. He's the golden child down there at 135 a little bit while Mikey's absent. So we don't know if Mikey's going to drop all the way back down the elevator to 135 or stay at 140. We really don't know how long Richard Comey is going to be out to defend his IBF title. We just don't know. We really don't know. But I hope somewhere in the upcoming months, we're able to get a competitive bout such as that. Now, who else? Like I said, Mikey Garcia, he's going to take, a good several weeks to recover from Errol Spence, and 140, you have a lot of tournament going on there. The World Boxing Super Series, a lot of tournament. You have Rougarou, Regis Prograis, trying to win that tournament whenever that kick starts this year. So look for that to start picking up steam and seeing the promos come back for that. And Shakur Stevenson, he's also on the MSG undercard. So look forward to see him out there too. Shakur Stevenson, man, he's kicking ass and taking names, man. Dude has a very bright future, man, like he's standing next to the sun. Believe that. So does Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez is already up there. He just needs the opponent to set him to that next level. A lot of people are saying Lomachenko. A lot of people are saying, other opponents. But either way it goes, whoever steps in there with Teofimo, they need to be ready. He makes changes in there. He is not a predictable one-dimensional fighter. Hell to the gnaw. You know what I'm saying? Then look at Shakur Stevenson. Forget the silver medal Olympian. That's his badge of honor, no doubt about it. But the way he's changing up his game over here on the professional level, every time he steps in the square, it's a better performance than the last. I'm impressed, man. I like to see him compete. I like to study how he's going about, finishing his fights, or going about, the way he delegates his offensive game plan. You know what I'm saying? Very bright future for Shakur Stevenson, man. Keep on doing what you're doing. Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, Terrence Crawford. Very heavy card. Very heavy card. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be electric out there at Madison Square Garden. Changing over to the UFC. I did hear some word that Jon Jones is going to be facing Thiago Santos. Okay, Thiago Santos, man, some of his strong points of striking. Yes, we're in mixed martial arts right now. All right, change lanes from boxing to mixed martial arts. Right now, Thiago Santos is going to be in there with the toughest fight of his life. If for sure, it's going to be Jon Jones. He can strike. Thiago, he is a powerful striker. If you check out his tattoo, it's that of a hammer, like the Thor hammer. Dude can throw hands. He has power. His jiu-jitsu isn't that bad. Now, linking him up in comparison to Jon Jones, skill for skill, Jon Jones, of course, still has a lot more areas that he can reach down and execute against Thiago Santos. That's just how lethal Jon Jones is. He just has too many weapons to his arsenal. So I'm looking to see how deep and how many wrinkles that Thiago Santos will use if he's ever placed in that adversity against a lethal striker like Jon Jones, man. Like, there's so many areas Jon Jones can visit while he's in the cage. It's just crazy. I know Anthony Smith went the distance, okay? Jon Jones is coming off the layoff. You know what I'm saying? He had to get the cage rust, shake it off a little bit. Thanks to Anthony Smith for not taking the easy route to the championship, man. The fans will have vilified the shit out of him. Because Jon Jones landed an illegal knee. It might have been complacency because he was just dominating the bout and he wanted to shake it up a little bit. But he could have indeed revisited his bout with Matt Hamill when he landed a 12-6 elbow. It could have been that epiphany. But thanks to the heart, man, the courage, the respect of Anthony Smith, not just staying on the mat and rolling over and saying, "Oh, I can't continue," it would have been a disqualification, and he would have became champion for the first time. We're talking about a guy who had a hard road. He was in the UFC initially and was released, fought himself back up, had a winning streak, back up to the UFC. I mean, the backstory is amazing, man. That's what you want to see from these fighters. That's the performance you want to talk about in the media. You want to talk about backstories like Anthony Smith, how he battled himself back up the ladder. He got his shot with Jon Jones, and it didn't happen. Now next in line is Thiago Santos. I like Thiago. I've basically seen him in there with some very tough opponents. And he is a very exciting fighter. He is very well-rounded. But where he's well-rounded in all areas, I still give Jon Jones an A+ in all of them. I don't see him being able to supersede any graded areas of Jon Jones going into this bout. Now, Jon Jones, kind of dangled a carrot out there in the media saying that, hey, Stipe might be the next one at heavyweight. We all looking for Jon Jones to step up to heavyweight. Why? Because it's always that potential for him to try to be a 2-division champion and face a trilogy bout with Daniel Cormier before he retire. And thank God, the powers that be, the MMA gods that be, y'all, DC is not going to retire, okay? He's not going to retire like he initially said before in March because he had an injury now. You know, how all of a sudden that works itself out. You know what I'm saying? I believe it's a big payday that's coming down the line for DC again. on his way out the door. And I believe that payday is going to be for who? Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. I think it's going to be a trilogy. But this time, I believe it's going to be at heavyweight. I think seriously this bout is going to be at heavyweight, y'all. And it's going to be a grand finale for the career of Daniel Cormier, who has nothing to prove. Good guy, one of the greatest to ever do it. I used to watch him smash dudes when he was a heavyweight over there in Strikeforce, and his contrite to come over to the UFC and compete at light heavyweight division, even though he could have competed at heavyweight just because of his friend Cain Velasquez. I mean, what a good dude. What a genuine friend to look out for another stablemate and a friend to compete at a lower weight class, which, to be honest, he had a problem. He loves eating. So for him to compete at a lower weight class because Cain Velasquez was active at that time, it tells a lot about his character, who he is as a person. Of course, when Jon Jones was gone, right? What happened? What did Dana White do? He was like all on Daniel Cormier's side, right? He was like, Daniel Cormier, he's the guy. But time we heard that Jon Jones was en route, the suspension was lightened, months extracted, the tenure shortened, and he was on his way back to the UFC. All the gravitational media promotion led back to the doorstep of Jon Jones coming back. Now you saw the verbal sparring beginning between Jon Jones to Daniel Cormier and Daniel Cormier to Jon Jones. Those two have to fight before it's all over with. Look, DC said it best. All right. After the second time he lost to Jon Jones, he said, "What's the point of a trilogy? It's not a trilogy when you're 0-2." And fortunate for Daniel Cormier, Jon Jones was stripped of the title because we know he popped positive for whatever adverse findings. So it still goes down in the books of those watching and in the mental mindset that he's 0-2 against Jon Jones. The reason why I say that, people, because Jon Jones, he during the fight, he was switching up his kicks and his strikes beautifully, right? So Daniel Cormier actually believed that he was going for somewhat like a low kick, the mid kick. But see, when he put his guard up, Jon Jones came over the top of Daniel Cormier's right guard and clipped him in the head. That's a shin to head kick. You know what I'm saying? I call those drug-free. That was technique right there. He came over the top of Daniel Cormier's guard, lit him up, stumbled to the cage, went over there and landed strikes to Daniel Cormier, and the fight was stopped. Give that man credit, man, for switching up his game plan and coming in there with a very solid striking offense to gain the advantage, Daniel Cormier, and stopping him. So now they want to put an asterisk by number 2. We need 3 before Daniel Cormier steps out the cage. It would do very good numbers. And plus, Daniel Cormier is solid at heavyweight. He went in there and finished Stipe Miocic, who had defended his title 3 times, y'all. He knocked him out in 1 round. Separating out the clinch, he caught him with a right hand. Oh my God, that right to the chin, that right cross was beautiful. He dropped Stipe Miocic like a sack of Idaho potatoes. Then landed a couple of strikes while he was basically laying out. Reminded me of freaking Dan Henderson and Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping talked all that trash to Dan Henderson, and Dan caught him with that H-bomb, and while he was knocked out, Dan Henderson took flight. He took flight, y'all. Open runway. Reared back with his right and crushed the elbow right across Michael Bisping. Man, I swear to you, I truly don't think Michael Bisping's been the same since then. Even though he still talk mad shit, man. God damn it, when he was knocked out and Dan Henderson took flight and crushed him with that elbow, I was like, shit, that's a quest only Dan Henderson can do. Real talk. That shit was brutal, y'all. But give it up, Michael Bisping, Hall of Fame, retired. One of the winningest fighters in the UFC. Salute to him. But anyway, back to Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. I believe it's going to happen probably sometime at the end of 2020. You know what I'm saying? If everything continues to go well with Jon Jones staying clean, no criminal outside adversity, and he's able to maintain his status as light heavyweight champion, we may see indeed in 2020 a bout with Jon Jones and DC. DC is a current heavyweight champion, nursing the injury. Jon Jones, he's a current light heavyweight champion. DC has indeed accomplished his feat as a two-division champion, light heavyweight and heavyweight. So of course that was when Jon Jones was out on suspension. Now that Jon Jones is active and has returned, DC needs to go get that work just for a trilogy when Jon Jones is supposedly clean, even though he continued to have tests to come back, testing for that same metabolite. Right now they're refusing to freaking punish him over and over again because of new finding, the scientific research of that particular, drug being depleted. That's time released over time, from his system. So they're finding out what was initially, scientifically regulated for a drug to leave the system is not the case. It's according to how heavy the user was or the athlete used the drug or whatever, and it's different anatomy, body structures, whatever you want to call it. It may take a little bit longer for that drug to leave the system. And that's what's been going on with Jon Jones. He's kind of rewriting the USADA, VADA book. There's been so many fighters suspended, but now they're finding out with Jon Jones, he's testing positive for the same drug years, several months after he was suspended. So they're saying, well, we might want to revisit our findings and see if it takes a little bit longer for this drug to leave the system completely. And this usually happens when he's cutting down in weight. The body goes through changes. So yeah, those metabolites were still actively showing up on the test, man. So let's see when the next time around Jon Jones step on and get ready to fight, what's going to happen to the two tests before and after. Are they going to still show up with this metabolite? I'm hoping to God that Jon Jones doesn't try to manipulate the system and say, well, I'm popping for metabolites. They have no constructive idea as to if I'm taking or not. So why don't I just go back to try to use and just flow with the current, and you get your ass busted, because the level of metabolites is what matter. They can pretty much determine if this is new. You know what I'm saying? So he doesn't want to go over there and get a higher number of metabolites that's coming back positive on his test, and then he find himself suspended again. His career is done. What else? You have Max Holloway facing Dustin Poirier. That's going to be a burner at lightweight. Okay, Max Holloway, he's moving up to lightweight. All right. He's moving up to challenge himself to be a two-division champion and possibly face Khabib Nurmagomedov, the current lightweight champion. Khabib is the one who defeated Conor McGregor on his return to the cage and indeed subbed him in the fourth round via fulcrum choke. Hey, great bout, but unfortunately, it does nothing to Conor McGregor. It doesn't humble him at all, because he goes right back out there and act like he's been freaking champion since he won the belts, and he defended the title 5, 6, 7 times. However he wants to freaking imagine in his head. He never defended a single title. but he was able to make millions crossing over to another sport that he was 0-0 against one of the best of this era in boxing, Floyd Mayweather. So we'll see what's going on with Conor McGregor. He's basically said he retired now from the UFC. We will see how long that lasts. He's did this in 2016 before. You know what I'm saying? So just take it for what it's worth, y'all. It may be something else in store for Conor McGregor. He may be crossing over to another genre of combat sports with a big ticket ahead, make another heavy bag. Or it might be some legal troubles, you know. This rape allegation came down on the eve of him freaking announcing his retirement. So we really don't know if it's legal trouble pending with that cloud of suspicion, or he's about to cross over possibly to bare knuckle fighting and face Paulie Malignaggi in a huge main event. Bare knuckle fighting is on the rise. The jetpacks are loaded and they're hot right now. So be sure to check that out. What else is popping off? You know, you have Stokes Promotion. They have a card that's going on this weekend, a multifaceted combat sports card, Muay Thai, boxing. Go check it out. I like cards that's mixed. You know, give you mixed genres of combat sports discipline. So y'all be sure to check that out if you're in South Carolina. You know, Stokes Promotion. You're going to have the main boxing headliner, J. Leon Prison, who's going to be the main event. So yeah, if you don't know who the Horseman is, check him out on Facebook, Stokes Promotion. And it's going to be a burner. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship next week, April 6th. Be sure to check it out, y'all. And that is it for me. I am out till next time. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled and ears tuned in for World Combat Sports. I will be on YouTube more often. Build up my subscribers, have more people.